Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. It's Season 7, Episode 8, and today we play the second leg of the Carabao Cup Semi Final against Chelsea as we look to finally get the ball well and truly rolling with Newcastle United. We've got a deficit to overturn, but it's not an unassailable lead yet. But before we do that, we need to focus on the league. Those eagle-eyed viewers among you will have noticed that we're only 2 points clear of the relegation zone now. That's because Millwall, Wolves and Stoke have been picking up results. The bottom two are gone, but it's very much 1 from 5 or 6 down the bottom there. So only we're up to 13th place and West Ham, who have got a game in hand, could well be dragged back into it yet. We've played against Stoke in the last game and got a point, and the same with Huddersfield the game before, but we're really struggling for goals as Callum Wilson still hasn't got off the mark since we've been here. If we go and have a look at the schedule, you can see that it's gone pretty much as you'd have expected it to, but if we'd have just turned one of those 3 draws into a win, it probably would have been a decent spell. You obviously joined me for the 1-0 defeat against Chelsea. Plenty of promise, but again we struggled in front of goal. Callum Wilson missed 2 clear-cut chances in that one. We rotated the whole team against Liverpool as we said we would. We lost 4-0, but look at some of the players they've got. They've got Ryan Brewster, the hot prospect, who's become a world-class striker on this one. They also had Vinicius Jr., the one from Real Madrid at the moment, who's currently doing well in La Liga, and at 24 he's a world-class winger. Who else did they have in there? They had Wilmar Barrios, he's another one at 31 who's a really good midfielder. Look at the state of him, such good attributes and someone we'd quite like to sign. And then Federico Chiesa scored the other goal, another elite winger cutting in from the wing. So they've done really well against us, and you probably would have expected it. Their first team playing our backup 11, you got exactly what you would have expected. However, we did get the win we very much needed at home to Ipswich. It was a bit of a nervy one at first. We went 2-0 up early on. Alex Iwobi scored a great goal from the edge of the box and Gylfi Sigurdsson scored a screamer. They came back to 2-2 just before the break, before Gylfi Sigurdsson got a penalty on the stroke of half time. In the second half, Iwobi got his second, but not before Gylfi Sigurdsson completed his hat-trick with a brilliant free kick, and it was a comfortable 5-2 win in the end. Unfortunately, Callum Wilson still didn't score in that one, and he didn't manage it at home to Fulham either. A late Gylfi Sigurdsson penalty getting us the equaliser. We're really dominating some of these games, but we just haven't got a goal scorer, and that's going to cost us like it does so many Premier League teams. We did win away from home in the FA Cup third round. Thankfully, Haris Seferovic did end his goal drought. He got 2 goals there, but again hasn't scored since. We lost 2-0 away at Chelsea in the first leg of the semi-final we're playing today, so it's not an unassailable lead, but I think we have to face, particularly without a goal scorer, it's unlikely we're going to overturn the deficit. Then away to Huddersfield we drew 2-2. Lascelles gave us a 2-1 lead with 15 minutes to go after Iwobi had put us ahead before half time, but unfortunately Cenk Tosun had got the goal for them and they managed to equalise late on. And then a ball 0-0 at Stoke. Again Callum Wilson had 2 clear-cut chances but wasted them both as we were held for a point. So in terms of the way we're playing and most of the team, we're doing brilliantly, but we just have not got a goal scorer and it's costing us so many points. We could have won 1 or 2 of those games easily with a good striker and that would have put us right up in mid-table. The one thing I am looking forward to, we did manage to get our director of football in the end, and it's the man we were expecting to get in the last episode. He's come all the way over from Crystal Palace for 800,000. Victor Orta, sensational attributes, but he hasn't done much yet. If we go and look at the transfer screen, he's made 1 pre-agreed transfer for 2 years time. That's the signing of Marin Grange, a 15-year-old French midfielder. Who's that? Is that so sure? It is. They're a really decent side. They produce quite a lot of good talent there, and in terms of potential it's 5-star, so he could be absolutely sensational. And perhaps more importantly than that, we've got over 13 million of transfer budget now and 175 grand on the wage budget remaining. That means he can go and get a striker if possible. It won't be a really great one, an established Premier League striker, as unfortunately they cost a lot more than that. But in terms of nicking someone out of the Championship, perhaps he might be able to take a gamble on that. For the transfer history, we've signed 1 player during January so far, a backup goalkeeper for £93,000. He's not very good, and that's the most we're going to say about him. In terms of outs, we have had a few. A few of the bigger earning youngsters have gone out on loan. Grant Broger's gone to Barnsley as a backup keeper. He's on £925 a week. The Barnsley youth product, Kenneth Effiong, he's gone on loan to Bury. He's on £2,500 a week. Cole Palmer's gone to Hull. He's on £6,500 a week. Julian Hume, he's gone to Hull as well. He's on £2,000 a week. Not got much potential, but looks a very good player at the moment. Thomas, the keeper's so good they named him twice. He's gone on loan to Southend. He's on £500 a week. And in our one sale of the window so far, Ante Rebic, a man who was very unhappy, and it was just good to get his poisonous atmosphere out of the club. They signed him for £3.5 million from Lyon back in July, and he's now gone back to France to join Nantes, and that's for £7 million. It's not a bad deal for us, and we're very much happy to see him gone. There's a couple of others that have had offers, but they've not really been good enough, and then a couple of the under-23s where our director of football's accepted an offer, but unfortunately the players haven't agreed. Don't forget, we've still got Yoshi Muto going out next month, a player who did so well for us in the Christmas series, but at this stage of his career, he's 32 years of age, and he's going off to the MLS to get one final payday. So fair play to him, and I hope he does well. Otamendi's still retiring at the end of the year, which will free up so much wage budget for next year, and if we can just do enough to keep our job this season, I really think we could have a big summer at the club. A bit of a clear out could be called for in terms of the backup squad. If we look at the likes of Nathaniel Klein, who's 33, Otamendi retiring, Muto leaving, Krunic is essentially useless and in his 30s, Ayoze Perez is over the hill, Seferovic the same, Callum Wilson, even at 32, we'd probably look to get him out in the summer, and Gylfi Sigurdsson's very much declining physically too. He's 35 and there's not much left in him. Probably the only over 30 I'd really like to keep for now is Jamal Lascelles. At 31, he's an excellent leader, a professional personality, and he's not declining physically or showing any signs of it. For the rest, we'd like to build around the likes of Iwobi, Douglas Luiz and Rivera, just to try and get a younger, fresher team for next season. But that only applies if we stay in the Premier League, otherwise we're going to be out of a job, and Newcastle are going to be back in the mire. So let's hope that's not the case, but we've got to turn our attentions away from the league today, as we face Chelsea in the second leg of the Carabao Cup Semi Final. Let's go and look at the teams for today and see who's the favourites to get through. Chelsea are the very slight favourites for the match, but overall with a 2-0 lead, they're definitely favourites for the tie. The Huddersfield-Liverpool one's a lot closer, but Liverpool at Anfield you'd expect to win. Huddersfield starting to struggle in the league. We have got a few injuries as you can see, so a little bit of rotation's going to be needed. Lavinas is going to get his chance from the start, as we've got Arzani with a knock. He's going to go into a winger support role, and then Ayoze Perez is going to come in attacking midfield. He's going to go into his preferred role of an advanced playmaker on support, which is okay now Arzani's not doing that role on the wing. We're going to bring Krunic onto the bench for Arzani. We can't really bring anyone else on, so this will be the 18 for today. Iwobi's a little bit tired, but so be it for now. The only other thing I'm tempted to do, and I did in one of the away games, is to take Rivera out for Danilo and drop him further back, but I think as we're at home, we should probably be a bit more ambitious. So our lineup for today is David Raya in goal, Matiju and Lewis are the fullbacks with Congolo and Lascelles in the middle. Douglas Luiz is in that holding role as a segundo volante, and then a central midfielder on defend is Rivera. We've got Lavinas covering over on the right wing, a tired Iwobi cutting in from the left, and then Ayoze Perez coming in behind Callum Wilson up front, who's still looking to end his goal drought. Let's get into the game. Fingers crossed we can do something special. If we don't do any transfer activities before deadline day, we'll bring back a couple of our loaned out youngsters. We've got a couple of 2.5 star kids who could potentially get into the squad, but for now we want to give our director of football as much chance as possible to improve us with some established players. We'd like to work in the youth players next year, but this isn't probably the right time for it. Let's get into the match though and see if we can pull off an almighty shock. 4-2-3-1 for Chelsea. They're arguably slightly stronger than they were in the home leg. They played 2 or 3 of the youngsters in that one, but they've got pretty much all the big names out there. So it's going to be a very tough one to overturn. We're going to go and tell the lads to prove a point. And quite frankly, if Callum Wilson gets scoring, we're capable of winning any game the way we're playing. But if he doesn't, we're not going to score, and it's going to be a limp victory. Especially easily for Chelsea, and even if we win the game, we won't get through the tie. Pickford's got the ball at the back. He goes long down the left-hand side. Matiju wins it. He finds Lavinas. Maybe the presence of a winger just delivering the ball into the box may help Callum Wilson in the middle. It certainly helped in the Torquay series where we get two strikers in the box and then just get the wide men pumping it in. But you never know the effects of that. Lavinas is obviously a raw talent, albeit a very special one. He's not really developed and he's still got plenty of raw attributes. Gedson's got the ball in the middle for Chelsea. It looks like they're comfortable early on. We've had most of the possession, but they're getting the first attack. Pulisic gets it from Lingard on the left, crosses to Ibrahim, falls for Larsson, goes through everyone to the right winger, and he puts it into the roof of the net. I'm pretty sure he scored against us in the league game on camera last time out, and the first shot of the game puts the tie out of sight, and just look how good Larsson is. He's a really world-class winger. They've got so many of them at the club. Iosi Perez puts a cross in, it's headed away, falls for Rivera. He switches it out to Matiju. He's got time to go backwards, cuts it inside to Iosi. He finds Rivera. He's got a man running off the left, but he goes short. Tries to clip it over Larsson's head and it's easy to clear. Lewis charging down the left though. His cross is blocked. It falls for Iosi Perez. Back to Luis, hits the bar and De Ligt clears away. It hits his own man and goes as far as Matiju. Safety first from Chelsea and it's just about enough. Levinas has picked up a slight knock. We know that Arzani's going to be fit for the weekend, so we're not going to worry about taking him off. He needs to learn to play through 90 minutes. Douglas Luiz on the edge of the box to Rivera. You can already see we're having the better of the game, but we just haven't got a striker to score goals. Lavinas goes into the box though, and he's hit it straight at Pickford, but he's hit the target more times than Wilson. Zuma's won a header in the defensive area for Chelsea. Nearly 20 minutes gone already. It's been an end-to-end match, but the only shot at Chelsea's end has led to a goal for them. If we can get Callum Wilson a goal, I really think we'd explode into life for the next few games, but it just doesn't look like it's coming. He looks bereft of confidence, and all of those attributes saying 17 finishing, 15 composure, 16-17 pace, they just seem irrelevant at the moment as he can't hit a barn door. Lewis heads the ball away on the left for us. Kessie finds Lingard. Gedson's got it in the middle of the pitch to Pulisic. Ibrahim's running off him. He goes short. He finds Larsson, cuts inside again. Back to Ibrahim who shoots, but it's blocked, and now Gedson and Lingard in the middle again. Chelsea dominating and swarming the area with bodies. Gustavo's got it on the left now, back to Pulisic. His cross is blocked and Lavinas can counter-attack. Wilson's running off him, but he doesn't look intent to get behind. Lavinas going all the way to the byline. A dirty foul by Gedson. Really cynical that was, and how he didn't get a yellow I'll never know. We've got to make the most of FM19 now. I don't know if you saw in real life, there's a couple of changes coming into the rule book from FIFA next year. No rebounds from penalties being one of them. Some things that are going to absolutely ruin football. So we've got to make the most of FM19, the last version where those won't be in place. De Ligt crosses the ball for Chelsea. It's straight into the arms of Raya and he rolls it out quickly to Congolo. The highlight ends and Lavinas has got a proper knock now, so we'll have to take him off at half time. We've got no attacking subs that are fit, so I'm not quite sure what we're going to do there. We've got a corner on the right hand side. Lavinas back to Iwobi on the edge. Goes into the box and it's blocked. Lavinas again. Delivers to the back post. Beats everyone. Zuma gets there and will clear away. He was being hounded very quickly, but the highlight ends, so I presume he got rid of it safely. Rivera gets the ball to Lewis on the left. Crosses to Lavinas. Heads just over the bar. A really good effort from the injured youngster. And at half time we're going to be 1-0 down on the night. 3-0 on aggregate. The tie's over, but there's plenty of lads who can get experience. We're going to tell the lads they've been disappointing just to try and motivate them a bit. If we go to our tactics, I don't really know what we can do. I might put Wilson out wide just because that'll take a little bit of the pressure off him. We're going to bring Krunic on as well for Iwobi just to see what we can do with them. Seferovic will come on too. We'll put Krunic over to the right-hand side and Callum Wilson on the left. Just see what their best roles are. Callum Wilson can be an attacking inside forward. Krunic, I don't know what he wants to be. An advanced playmaker on attack. And then Iosi Perez can stay in the support role just to make sure we've got a bit of structure. But there are 2 attacking subs made and we'll go into the second half and hope they can make a slight difference. If we can get Wilson a goal off a different position, he won't be man-marked now by one of the centre-halves and he'll have a chance to use his movement rather than relying on being on one-on-one. If we can get an instinctive finish rather than one where he's running in and got time to think about it, hopefully that'll make things a bit easier. Lewis has the ball on the left. He finds Rivera to Iosi Perez. Plays a 1-2 and goes long. It's a terrible ball and it's straight back to Chelsea. Kessie gets it to Larsson on the the right hand side, delivers to Pulisic. He was unmarked, but luckily for us he's headed it over the bar. He really should have scored that one though. We've only got one sub left and I don't know what we're going to do. I think it's going to be a straight swap at left back as Jamal Lewis has got a poor attitude at the moment. He's frustrated and that may cost us, so we've got to make sure we give Rika a chance. Jose finds Krunic on the edge. He goes to Wilson. There's the moment we've been waiting for. It won't make much of a difference tonight. It'll just be a consolation. But from next week onwards, that is going to be huge in the Premier League. Wilson ends his goal drought in competitive fixtures, and I don't really care what happens for the rest of this game now, as long as he doesn't get injured, of course. I'm really excited about that. It's been the one thing we're missing at the moment, and with that man back on fire, we could well go on a run in the league. Let's make that change at left back. Lewis is anxious now. Rika on for him, and hopefully we can push forward a bit more. I'm getting excited now. It doesn't mean much for today. We're never going to get two more, but I'm really pleased he's got a goal for us. For some reason, Callum Wilson's still anxious, despite the fact he scored that goal, and it was a really good one at that as well. Rivera's got the ball in the middle though, and if he could get a second, I'm sure that'd cheer him up. Douglas Luiz in the middle to Krunic. He's a player that's not had much of a chance under me so far, but he's starting to play well out of position here, so he may force his way into the team. He finds Wilson again in. Great save by Pickford. Wilson again on the left and it's cleared. And the problem for Wilson is still those finishes where he's got time. He's showing no composure at all, but Krunic has a free kick now. He's put it in the top corner. Game on, everyone. Forget what I said about that being a consolation from Wilson. We need one goal to get to the extra time. There's 10 minutes to go and we're going to push the lads all the way. Let's hope they can get there. We're going to tell them to push forward, and into stoppage time we're going to go attacking just to see if we can nick that goal. What a fight we've put up today, and whether we get through in this tie or not, over 90 minutes we've beaten Chelsea's first team, and that's something we've got to take the positives from. Kessie's thrown the ball in. Rivera heads away, the whistle's blown, we go out of the Carabao Cup 3-2 on aggregate, but what a fight back. A goal from Krunic, who we've barely given a chance to, and a goal from Callum Wilson, who ends a long drought. That could be a real positive step moving forward over the next couple of months in the league. We're going to tell the lads they were excellent. It was a fantastic result on the night. It's just a shame we had a mountain to climb already. We've got Leicester in the cup at the weekend. They're a mid-table championship side now, don't forget. So we've got a week before we get back to league action where we play mid-table Bournemouth at home. That one's on TV as well, and I hope Callum Wilson can continue his goal scoring form there. Let's have a look at what's been said about the game. Chelsea get past Newcastle, but only because of the first leg triumph. It was unfortunate for us. Let's see how long Lavinas is out for. Just 1 to 2 days, so he'll play again in the cup tie at the weekend. We'll do the press conference off camera in a minute. We got a few £1,000, it won't help too much. And Krunic was excellent when he came on. He's going to work his way into the squad for the first team. So despite losing the tie, it was very much a positive episode, this one, and I really feel if Wilson gets on goal scoring form, we can start to pull away from the relegation pack. We've got a couple of huge games coming up in the league. Bournemouth at home is going to be a massive one next midweek, and then we've got the Arsenal game before we play Wolves away from home, a side who are right down there with us. If we get 2 wins out of those 3, that could really set a platform for us, but if we don't win any of them, we're going to be well and truly in a relegation dogfight. So I'm just looking to the end of the season. We'll probably be back again in early March. I think West Ham are at the top of that relegation pack. They are in 13th place. So we'll come back for that one at the start of March. Hopefully before the Tottenham game after that, we'll have our youth intake too. And then we'll come back for one more towards the end of the season. Maybe even just the last 2 against Millwall and Chelsea. Millwall are the 18th place side at the moment, so that could be a massive game. If we're still in a relegation dogfight, then we'll show both. If not, we'll just do the last game of the season. But we'll definitely be back for the West Ham game next time out at the start of March. Hopefully we'll have a good youth intake then too. And hopefully we'll also have some transfer news to report on, depending on whether our new director of football can get some deals over the line. But that will be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please put a thumbs up on the video as always. I really do appreciate your ongoing support with the series. Let me know down in the comments what you think our director of football is going to do. Is he going to spring a pleasant surprise before the end of the month, or are we going to be left to fight with these lads for the rest of the year? I guess for a 12 or 13 million pound, what can he really get that's going to help us at Premier League level? Subscribe to the channel for FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories. This one, The Head Coach, where we're currently with Newcastle United, of course, and then our One Club series, part of the furniture with Torquay United, where we're trying to take them to the top of domestic and European football. There's also weekly content from my FIFA 19 lower league career with Crew Alexandra. The last episode of that was out yesterday at 4:30. But a massive thanks for watching as always, and your continued support of the channel, and we'll see you next time for a big relegation 6-pointer.